Aloha. I'm Bill Spencer, and I'd like to talk to you about what's really behind the attacks on Act 221. The Lingle administration continues to attack Act 221 by enlisting a few House Democrats to move destructive bills forward, despite overwhelming testimony in opposition. They characterize the language in these bills as bargaining chips to use during the cover of conference committee negotiations to get what the administration wants. This is nothing more than a backroom exercise in horse trading. The bargaining chip is language added into Senate Bill 898 that changes the credit recapture provision from 10% to 100%. They plan to use this bargaining chip to force businesses benefiting from Act 221 to identify themselves and demonstrate evidence of the law's effectiveness. This so-called transparency is actually just a cynical attempt to discourage presumed abuse, intimidate entrepreneurs and investors, and cater to the media who created the abuse boogeyman in the first place. The competing Senate language now in House Bill 1631, Senate Draft 2, preferred by industry, provides funding to enable the Department of Taxation to provide the same evidence of effectiveness that is already collected from qualified high-tech businesses under penalty of law. The Senate language does not change the law, adhering to the promise made by both the administration and the legislature when Act 215 was enacted in 2004. Let us make no mistake about it. The Lingle administration has been behind attacks on Act 221 since coming to power in 2002. Why else would the governor be so silent on the value of Act 221 even while belatedly calling for the development of an innovation economy? The attack the administration is fomenting now further demonstrates their insincerity. During the last 5 years, industry has always assumed that the Democratic rank and file support economic diversification, particularly considering that Act 221 was a Democratic inspiration, a vote of confidence in Hawaii's future. These few Democrats, now working privately with the administration, are undermining the goodwill their predecessors have built up. They've turned their backs on the entrepreneurs and investors who believed the promise that they would let the law run its course. Their actions will not be forgotten. Abandoning the essential priority of stimulating economic diversification is tragic. Disabling Act 221 in the midst of a campaign to create an innovation economy is beyond tragic. It is disingenuous. Is there anyone in the legislature or administration who truly supports economic diversification, or is all this talk about creating an innovation economy just shabai? We seek clarity and courage from our elected officials, and we expect more than political horse trading on something so important to Hawaii's economic future. The conferees not under the administration's spell must be courageous against this attack. They must believe the evidence that Act 221 is in fact fulfilling its intent and spawning innovative companies that are putting as much money into the economy as the credits appear to cost us. They must believe the evidence that Act 221 is creating the kinds of jobs that excite our youth and motivate them to seek higher education in fields like science and engineering. Can the Democratic majority let a few among them forget the vision of their predecessors? Does the administration believe that Act 221 investors and entrepreneurs have forgotten what they were promised when Act 215 was enacted? All we ask for is that the administration keep their promises and let this important law run its course, unchanged and unhampered by backroom politics. This is their obligation to the people of Hawaii. Mahalo.